Yeah, welcome to another episode of Artco Drone Solutions. We've got a great show tonight. We have a great guest all the way from Rapid City, South Dakota, the home of wild drugs and reptile gardens. Let's welcome our special guest, Ron Lockwood. Welcome, Ron.
Hey, Art, you obviously have been out here before. You knew those places. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So, you're not a native of South Dakota, are you?
No, I'm actually a East Coaster,
Oh,
originally from Pennsylvania.
all right.
Uh, Spent last before I moved out of here about the last 25 years of my life just outside of Philadelphia,
Oh,
pretty close
nice.
to Michael from Philly Drone Life.
Okay, great,
Yeah,
great, great.
yeah.
Yeah, I follow another YouTuber out of Philly. His channel's Extreme Philly Fishing.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, his name is Leo Shang. He's an Asian guy. Great fishing show. So check him out.
Yeah, I would
And
definitely check him out.
yeah, hmm he's quite a character, and I think that's what I like about him. And he's very knowledgeable on just about every species of fish they catches.
Really,
hmm
sounds like a guy I might want to talk to.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's a life lister and a micro fisherman too.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow.
let's talk about drones instead about fishing. So,
Yeah, I can keep going talking about fishing.
so, how long have you been in South Dakota?
I've been here. This is actually my second trip. I was here back in 2013 and 14 for a year. Moved back to Nevada, just on the California border, and then I come back here now in 15. I was only gone 2 years,
Right?
uh, or I'm sorry, the beginning of six, a little over 3 years now.
Okay, cool, cool.
But been coming to South Dakota though for probably about 10 years. A lot of good fishing and hunting out here, and
Yeah, yeah, yes, it is. I
mhm.
back when I was doing stand-up comedy, I've done some shows up at Spearfish.
Oh yeah,
hmm
okay, yeah, wow, okay.
That's a beautiful country up there.
It is.
Mm.
You'll have to come back out and visit now. You know somebody out here. Yeah.
You know, if you would have gotten into drones a few years earlier, you might have been able to fly up at Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, right before, what was it, 2014? I think that rule changed
Okay.
with the National Park Service that that
Right.
stopped. Yeah,
hmm
yeah. I sit back and think, even when I was back in Philly, all the years that I spent back there, I wish, like, oh wow, I was back there in February,
Right.
and I actually have a video on my channel. I went with a friend. We went down at 4 o'clock in the morning. We're down into Center City and
Wow.
did some footage. Um, Down in Center City, the Philadelphia Art Museum.
Right.
Yeah, Michael back there, I kind of envy him a little way. I wish I had a drone back then, when I was living back there, but
Yeah.
you didn't hear much about drones
Right.
7 or 8 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I didn't get into drones till a couple years ago. So I'm
it's
fair,
been just
fairly
over
new at
about 2.5 years for me. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
hmm
So what was your first drone?
First drone was the Parrot Bebop 2.
Oh, okay. All right.
Um, and then went on to the Phantom 4 Pro.
Nice.
Uh, Kept the Phantom 4 Pro,
Right.
then added in the Autel Evo.
Okay.
Um, Had a little incident with the Evo.
Oh no.
Um, oh yeah, yeah, not on my fault, but it took over a year to. I'm a little stubborn, type A, because of my profession, but I
Right.
refuse to give up. company, and actually, long story short, they finally made the situation right
Oh,
and
good.
replaced it.
Good.
And then what I've decided to do, Art, now is I know some of the guys are, they have 2, 3, 4, 5 drones, or whatever.
Right.
I've actually put all their money into one now.
Okay.
And I put it into one, but I'm looking to upgrade my hand cameras as well.
Okay. Cool.
After each camera has its own function.
Right.
And anything from a 360 camera to an action camera to I have a 4K Sony video camera that I utilize in some of my trips.
Nice.
I have a drone as well.
Mhm.
My last big excursion was left South Dakota, went to Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
Met up with my friends, and we took a motorcycle ride up through Washington and Oregon states.
Oh,
And I filmed the whole time through Yellowstone and the Tetons National Park and out to Mount St. Helens.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful trip! Beautiful trip.
Yep. That's a beautiful area up there. And
Oh my God, so much
I
to
gather
see.
you're a hunter.
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
By the mounts you have on your wall there.
Yeah, there's. I do have a second career as I'm a professional hunting guide in the state of Wyoming.
Nice.
I work for a very, very prestigious licensed outfitter
Uh-huh.
just over by Devil's Tower.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
they've been in business for about 30 years, and I'm coming up this week will be my fourth or fifth season that I've worked with them. Uh,
Nice.
kind of, almost similar to the drone community where I just meet so many people from all over the country. And
Yep.
I've made friends,
Right.
from one coast to the other. And it's
Cool.
really neat. Met some cool people with some unbelievable jobs and careers. And it's really neat. It's not
Right.
all about the thing. It's about the friendship and the camaraderie and stuff that all comes along with that. And I really love it. Yeah. So.
I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here and welcome Steve Carpenter,
Hey, there you
Mitch
go.
from Old Guy and a Drone, R Graphics, welcome to the show, and SNL crew. All right, and Brent Nunley and Better with the Drone is in the house. Mike Roach. All right, welcome, Mike. Welcome. We've got quite a few new people I've never seen here at like R Graphic. He's new. Mr. Goss. Uh, DumbTube is new, and Made in Taiwan EMS. Welcome to the
Oh,
show. That's it. We got some. That's good. I'm getting people from all over the place now. That's cool. So, one question I do have is now that we're talking about hunting, I love prairie dog hunting. And where's the great place to go to in Wyoming?
I honestly, Art, I would recommend, and I know this sounds a little bit, what's the word I want to use, biased, but my boss, there is a reason I actually started out with him back in 2002
Right.
as a customer. There is a reason why I still went back to him as
Mm-hmm.
a customer, and now I work for him.
Oh,
Uh, I'll tell you what, he's probably one of the nicest bosses I've ever met. Just the family treats us so good. But with hunting and you can go a million different places around here. But I'll
yeah.
tell you what, the thing it is, he takes you to a brand new place every morning. You
Awesome.
know, some places will tell you, hey, keep going back to the same place every day. And those prairie dogs, they eventually get smart. They
Yeah.
start seeing people and after about 10 minutes, they all go in their holes. And
Yeah.
it's like, I see what happened, yesterday with all the gunfire. They have I think they're a little smart, but
Yeah.
no, he's a great guy. Great accommodations. The
Great.
meals you will have are just remarkable.
Awesome.
Everything's included. everything is included. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and I'll tell you what, he actually doesn't really need to advertise anymore.
Yeah.
He has so many repeat customers, and I think that in any business, says for itself.
Great.
When you have multiple repeat customers, that in itself says something.
Uh-huh.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's great. But yeah, I could definitely hook you up with him. It's guaranteed good time, and if you're a reloader, I'd start now.
Well, I wish I could. My brother-in-law, he's the one that got me into shooting, and
Okay,
sadly he passed away in 2011. And
great.
he got me into prairie dog hunting. We pack up his Bronco and he'd take a picnic table out there and some
Mhm.
sandbags, and he'd have his spotting scope and he'd say, "Yeah, I see one out there. Oh, at about 300 yards." And we'd set up our high-powered rifles and zero in on one, and boom.
Yeah.
And first time I got to go, he had one of his friends. He brought his uh, AR-15,
Uh huh.
and I was just knocking down prairie dogs after prairie dogs, and they looked at each other like, "And you've never shot a high-powered rifle?" I go, "No, I swear. The only powerful gun I shot is my dad's 50 caliber flintlock rifle."
Wow.
Yeah.
I've only ever shot a caliber once, but no, I've shot as high as over 700 rounds in one day
Oh boy.
out there. Yeah,
Ugh.
that's how big the town. Yeah, your little store, but we used the 22 caliber rifles.
Yeah.
I would bring in a 204, a 223,
Yep.
22 250. I had
Yep.
two Wildcat guns.
Mhm.
It actually does make you precise in your shoot. I tell you what, it's great practice.
Yep.
My longest shot on a prairie dog is 1,300, over 1,300 yards. Yeah,
Wow. I
I
think.
have a certificate from the Varmint Hunters Association for a 1,000 yard shot. Yeah,
Oh
got them on the same
man.
shot.
I think
Yeah.
my longest is maybe 400, maybe 450. And
Hmm.
yeah, we shot 22 250s. Uh, and then I had a Thompson Contender
Oh
223
yeah.
with the 21-inch barrel,
Uh
and
huh.
had that set up like a rifle, and I was
Right.
knocking down prairie dogs with that. What else did we have? Oh, and then we had a 6 millimeter Remington that we had
Oh
that
yeah.
that my dad built back in the 50s on a Mauser action. And
Okay.
my sister has that gun right now. So she's the
Uh,
one with the gun safe. So
wow.
yeah.
Yes, I love the millimeter 6BR. Yeah. Some of them are really accurate. There are a lot of bench rest guns from
Mm-hmm.
the six millimeter caliber. Yeah,
Yep. And
they're
it's
awesome.
it's it's the smallest round you could use on elk.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. At least here in
Yeah.
Colorado. I don't know.
Okay. Is that where you're at? Art is in Colorado?
Pardon?
Is that where you're at? Is in
Yes,
Colorado?
I'm just outside Denver in Westminster, Colorado. Lloyd Mendenhall's hometown.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Wow.
Yep.
I didn't realize you're so close. I'll have to come down and visit you sometime.
Well,
Yeah, because
Lloyd
you're only
lives in Muskogee, Oklahoma right now.
right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're only about maybe 4 hours, 5 hours at the most
Yep.
south of me.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's neat.
Hmm.
Beautiful country you live in.
Yes, it is. I went out fishing today. Got skunked, and I could see the big carp right there in front of me, and they just weren't biting.
You could have went to work though. There's you could have been working. The way
Hey,
I always look at it.
let's welcome Night Train to the show. Welcome, Night Train. And Rick Halber. Welcome, Rick.
Hey,
Yep.
Rick Caliber.
Uh,
Steve.
yep. So your regular day job, you're an EMT or a paramedic?
I'm a paramedic, yes, sir.
Okay, cool. And how long have you been doing that?
I always hate to admit this because it tells my age, but just I think this is my 29th year.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thank you for your service and
Thank you. Yeah,
helping people in need out there, and that's what we need. Hmm.
yeah. It's been a fun career, Art. I started back in Pennsylvania. Started as a volunteer in
Uh-huh.
Western Pennsylvania, small little coal town, and one of my buddies got me involved in it. And then he went to school and he moved to the eastern side of the state, just outside of Philadelphia, about four
Right.
hours east. And he got me to move down there, and that's where my career kind of took off. I went down there, start out as and there's different levels in the ambulance service or in the EMS service.
Right.
You have your first aid, your first responder people.
Right.
Then you have your EMTs, and then you jump up into your paramedic level.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I went to paramedic school just outside of Philly and
Right.
graduated. And I've worked the streets, as far as paramedic, and then I started flying back in 1988
Wow.
when I started flying.
Uh-huh.
Flew for the same hospital for 22 years.
Wow.
Had an opportunity, many opportunities to. Well, it's unfortunate, but some of the things I was involved in 9/11.
Oh, wow.
I actually went with my boss and his team to New York City on the second week of the
Wow.
9/11 attacks and spent a week there at the recovery efforts.
Wow.
In Hurricane Katrina
Hmm.
through FEMA, which is a state-run, or federal-run
Right.
organization.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, is it the best-paying job in the world? No, but you know what? It's a job that I've loved.
Right.
I enjoy what I do. You know what? And sometimes when that one person, maybe every 6 months, may knock on your door and say, "Hey, you took care of me, or you took care of my dad, or a month ago," and they stop in
Hmm.
to say thank you. And some people ask, how do you deal with some of the things that you deal with?
Yeah.
And it does take a little bit of a special person. We deal with a lot. We deal with a lot of stress. There's just continuous hours of education, continuing education that you got to
Right.
do. There's some family sacrifices, you make.
Right.
But I tell you what, I wouldn't trade a minute of it. It's been great. I've
Hmm.
gotten a lot of experience. The friendships,
Right.
it's almost like with the military or the police department, the fire departments.
Right.
You kind of you get into a brotherhood, and you look out for each other, and it's awesome. But
Right.
yeah, it's been a fun career, and still doing it, um,
Great. That's
and
wonderful.
hoping to continue. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
Ken Heron had a similar experience when he was in his car accident right around Christmas time, almost 2 years ago, and he went back to the hospital and thanked all the people and the paramedics who took care of him and did a great job. Hmm.
well, that's actually how Ken and I kind of met, so to speak.
Oh,
When I saw that video, I wrote Ken and I said, "Hey, Ken, I let him know, what it is that I do for a living." And
right.
I said, "Ken, where I'm coming from as an EMS provider, as a paramedic," I said, "Man, that goes a long way." I said, "The
Yeah.
sheer fact that you took the time to go back and thank all the people that had helped you," I said, "that says a lot about you as a person."
Right.
And secondly, we as the providers, that comes a lot with us too, and we really appreciate that. So I wrote him and I told him this, and this was it this March? Yeah, I think it was this March. And so we emailed back a couple of times, and then he'd asked me to come on the show, one night.
Cool.
That was a
Yeah,
kind of a guest
I
one
saw
night.
that. Yep.
Yeah, that's cool that Ken did that though. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I haven't. I think I've only missed one episode, and that was Fourth of July because I was invited to a a barbecue, so I had to. I'm probably the only show I've missed, and I've been watching his channel, maybe a month or more prior to his accident, and
Hmm.
just I just find him entertaining and informative and all that.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I try to. If I don't make it on Thursday, I usually rewatch it a day or two later. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was nice that he played my happy birthday video that I sent to him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Ken's a good man. I like him.
Yeah.
He's pretty knowledgeable too.
Yeah, he
Um,
is.
yeah, he's been flying for quite a while, and sounds like, and yeah, he does some beautiful videos too. You
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah, most definitely.
Yep. So you're not only into drones, you're into photography, and I've seen some of your work. You did do some great job, and
Sure.
I saw your little video on the helicopter. The
Yeah, I just filmed that the other night. I took the Osmo Action,
Right.
and what I did was actually put it on a selfie stick and just stuck it in my top pocket. One of the things I like about the Osmo Action is that you can kind of pre-program it. You can, when the camera is off, I mean, normally the process is turn the camera on and then select a mode that you want to shoot in and
Right.
then hit the record button.
Hmm.
With the Osmo Action, in reading on all of the instructions with it, you can actually just have the camera off, just hit the record button, and it'll come on by itself and start recording in the mode that you have pre-selected.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, and then again, all you have to do is hit one button. So because you know that I'm kind of responsible for my duties,
Right.
that I do like on a startup. If you saw in that video, um, all I did was have the camera. It literally was just sticking out of my pocket. I hit one
Right.
button, and I concentrated on my duties, that I was required to do.
Very
But
nice.
no real color grading or post production work. I didn't do much of anything. But the stabilization, I was pretty impressed with. And one of the best ways I describe that is if you look in some portions of that small video, if you look on the right hand side, you will see the sunshade up around the main console in front of the helicopter in the
Uh-huh.
cockpit. You'll see
Right.
it kind of quivering and shaking. But
Right.
if you actually look out the window at the footage and the scenery, it's not.
Uh-huh.
So my whole test in that was just kind of to see how well I guess the rock steady
Right.
um, stabilization was going to work, and it did a great job.
Hmm.
I was pretty pleased with it.
Yeah, I have a GoPro Hero 3. I've got the silver and the black,
Uh-huh.
and that's what I use for my fishing videos. And I have one that I use for my underwater video that turns out pretty good.
Does
Hmm.
it? Okay.
Hmm.
I've been scared to take this. I haven't had it in water yet.
Uh-huh.
Um, One of the cameras that I had underwater, the only one I've had underwater, and I kind of regret selling it. About 4 or 5 months ago, I had the Rilo 360,
Right.
and when I was last August, I was in Alaska fishing for salmon
Oh,
and halibut.
oh,
And
nice.
what I had done, you had to put it in a underwater housing, and I tied
Yeah.
a string onto it, and I dropped it overboard and took it down about 10 or 15 feet. But I
Hmm.
actually got footage of the salmon being reeled in and
Oh,
right up into,
cool.
yeah,
Oh,
it
that's
was,
awesome.
yeah, that's on my Alaska video. If you
Uh-huh.
see it, kind of neat. But yeah,
That
I
is.
can't well. Took the drone up there and did some footage with the drone. I had the
Uh-huh.
auto on that trip.
Uh-huh.
There was a couple points I went out and I was a mile plus away and out searching for whales and
Yeah.
got some footage, unbelievable footage up there. Yeah, great place to film. And it's
Right.
very drone friendly. So very drone friendly up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I also have a couple SJ cameras. They kind of look like the Hero Session,
Okay.
and they take pretty good video. And I haven't used them in a while because I haven't found a need to use them. But I did use one for underwater stuff, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, they're kind of a cube shaped camera. It's a M10 model,
Hmm.
and I used one of them as my camera that I used for my vlogging for
Right.
for this show,
Uh-huh.
and you know the problem with that is you get that little bit of a fisheye lens look,
Okay.
and so when I got this camera, I love it. Where vMix and some of the other uh, studio software wouldn't recognize the SJ cam.
Really?
So,
Okay.
yeah. So, this is my other vlogging camera. This is a knockoff of I think a Canon, the G7.
Okay. Yeah. Familiar with that
And
one.
nice thing about it's got the monitor that flips up.
Mm.
But the problem is, this is 12 megapixels.
Okay.
So the video is kind of grainy. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only thing I don't like about it. Especially if I do photographs, they look kind of grainy.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a camera, Art, that I bought about a year ago. Um, and I know there's better ones out there, but it's the Sony, I have it back there, the Sony AX53,
Uh huh.
4K video. And I think it's maybe just 12 megapixel photo as well. Um, but two things with that.
Right.
With that 4K video, if you look actually on the top of my channel, I have a video on there called The Birth of Twins. And a friend of mine in town called me up one day and said, Ron, hurry up and get down here. There's a mother mule deer that just delivered twins in my driveway about a half an hour ago.
Right.
So I raced down there and I filmed these baby mule deer. There were two twins.
Oh.
They were just walking around and they could still barely walk. But if you look at the clarity of that camera, you could see tiny bugs flying through the air and little pollen things
Yeah.
going through the air. It was
Right.
so clear. Like, oh my gosh, look at
Wow.
this. But if you get a chance, check out that video. It's kind of neat. That little one baby actually walked. He must have walked 20 yards. He looked over at me. It's like, hey, you look kind of cool. And he walked over, sniffed my leg, and then sat down, laid down beside me. I'm
Oh,
like,
nice.
it's kind of neat.
That's
But I'll tell you
cool.
what, image stabilization on that. And the other thing with that, just to give you on the zoom factor with that camera, I was in Tetons National Park, which
Right.
is in Wyoming,
Right.
and just unbelievable, beautiful country. There is a video I have on my channel. It's titled, I think it was a trip to Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Right.
But I zoomed in on these climbers that were climbing this cliff. They had to be 1,000+ yards away.
Wow.
And then I slowly panned out, but it gives you an idea of the capability and the image stabilization of that camera.
Right.
So, yeah, the Sony AX53,
Oh,
it's just a pretty good little camera for the price.
okay.
I've been pleased with it so far. Yeah.
Sony AX53.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'll
Yeah.
keep an eye out for that. One of the things that I do is I check out these police auction websites and look for
Hmm.
deals. Maybe I'll look that up.
Yeah.
Uh, writing it down. Okay, great. Cool. So, were you a nerd in school?
Actually, no. And I started getting into I didn't get into the photography and the computer end of things. Oh gosh, when was that? Back in the '90s. Um,
Right?
I started actually. An old girlfriend brought me my first camera, and I was like anybody else. I was taking pictures of bugs and flowers, and
Right?
if I had a dime back for every roll of film when 35 millimeter first came out, she bought me my first Nikon camera and lens, and it was about 3 years later. I found myself. Well, I sit back and think today, like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? But I did my first wedding,
Oh,
and
nice.
walked in there with one camera, one lens.
Uh huh.
Um, Once I learned what could possibly go wrong, I wish I never. Thank God everything went well. But I actually had a wedding photography business for 22 years back in
Wow.
Pennsylvania.
Nice.
I was actually pretty busy. I had a full time career, doing as a paramedic, and just about every other weekend I had a wedding. Um,
Nice.
I was doing 30 plus weddings a year, just
Wonderful.
about every other weekend. And yeah, the last wedding I did, and then I kind of get out of it. There's many stories I could tell about the wedding photography business, but
Yeah, I bet.
one of the things I regret to this day that I have done. Back in the days, do you remember the medium formats? Um, I had a medium format camera, and at the time,
Yep.
they were film. And about 2 years into having one, they come out with what was known as the digital backs. In other words, you could pull the back of the camera off that had film, um, set it down, grab what they called a digital back, slap it on that camera, and turn that camera into fully digital. And the megapixel was somewhere between 18 and 24 megapixel.
Wow,
But I'll tell you,
nice.
the Zeiss lenses, the quality, oh, I still to this day kick myself for selling those cameras. Like, why did I do that? But at the
What?
time, the digital backs were anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000 when they
Wow.
first came out. If you were a portrait photographer or a
Right.
studio type photographer where you're filming every day,
Right.
I can understand the cost, justifying the cost, but I was not. But then your point and shoot digital started coming out, and then your digital SLRs started to come
Right.
out, and but still, I think the medium formats, I still think you can buy digital backs for them,
Oh,
but I don't think they're
nice.
any near the price. But I'll
Right.
tell you what, the quality that you see with those lenses. I had the last one I had was the Mamiya, called the Mamiya 645.
Yeah, yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, yeah. I always wanted a Nemaya 645,
Oh,
and then there was well, Bronica had one,
yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
Hasselblad, which was like
Oh, yeah.
the
Square format.
elite
Yep.
camera in the
Hmm.
day. The Apollo astronauts used them on their missions.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
if you see some of the photos they've taken, it'll say right below, taken with the Hasselblad camera.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like the Hasselblads. They did phenomenal work. I was more of a fan of the Bronicas, the Mamayas, because they were the 6x4.5 format,
Right.
where the Hasselblads what were they, 5x5 or 6x6? I'm trying to remember
Well, they
the
were
actual.
the 120 film format,
Yeah,
which
yeah, uh-huh.
be 2 1/4 by 2 1/4.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but I remember the negatives. Just, oh my gosh, they were huge,
Yep.
and you could make billboards, with those negatives, and the
Right.
clarity was still there. I said if I was on a mobile device, I'd take you out. I know I'd mentioned previously the Sony AX53. I actually just got in from a place. I'm trying to remember the name of it now. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there's 16 by 30s prints that I had, still photos I did with the Sony. They're up on my wall. One of them is a grizzly bear,
Right.
and one is a mother moose and her calf.
Oh, nice.
The third one is it's called Shoshone Falls in Twin Falls, Idaho. If you ever get a chance to get out that way, it's an unbelievable. They call it the Niagara of the United States.
Right.
Giant waterfalls and big rainbows, and I got 3 big prints from that camera.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, back in the day when I was really into photography back in college, I used to experiment with the large format film, like what is it, 5x7.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what brand was that, Mark? I'm trying
Well, there was Ilford, and then there was another brand. But anyway, what I did was I would get the high contrast ones where I would do experiments with solarization, and then I would do bas relief, and then I would make a negative and then a positive, and I put them on top of each other, and then just slightly out of register, tape it together, and shine it on some paper, and come out with some really interesting effects with that.
Yeah, it was funny, Art. A couple of people Steve was mentioning, like,
yeah,
hey,
I saw that.
You're dating your age. Do you remember the technique called digiscoping?
No, what is that?
Almost most of your little point and shoot cameras have, if you actually look at the lens on them, they actually have screw threads on there.
Oh, yeah.
And a company called Eagle Eye Optics. And what they did, the Eagle Eye Optics made an adapter that would screw into the end. One end would screw into the end of your little point and shoot digital camera.
Right.
And the other end was almost like a tube, and it would actually fit over the eyepiece of a spotting scope. I actually have a 20 by 30 in one of my rooms here of a pair of baby eagles that were hatched and born. And I was probably 700 or 800 yards away, but the photograph looks like I was standing beside them, clear as a bell. And you actually used your spotting scope,
right,
almost like your lens. The problem with that is the magnification is so strong with that even a 1 mile an hour wind would cause any movement. And you actually, if you had a camera that was capable of, what's the word term I want to use, where you could lock up the mirror on the camera, and you just didn't want any shake, any movement whatsoever of that. But I'll tell you what, it gave you the capability of shooting things at 1,000 yards away and looking like it was standing beside you.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I think it's still out there. It's called digiscoping.
Okay.
And it's all, they make an adapter, fits on your camera, fits over the eyepiece of your spotting scope. And you need a good spotting scope. You need good glass.
Right.
I've always been, very finicky with. I'm a little particular on my glass.
Right.
I'm a Nikon fan. I have binoculars with made by Leica.
Right.
I go top quality. I have a Zeiss spotting scope, that I use for my guiding business, and glass is very important, I think. Yeah.
I want to say hi to Above and Beyond Drones. Welcome to the show. Hey, Jim. Welcome to the show.
Fellow paramedic.
Yep.
Yeah.
I used to take some of those old Kodak cameras, the bellows cameras, and I would they would take that 120 film, and I would do some double exposure where I
Mm-hmm.
would go into I would turn off all the lights, and it was pitch black, and I had a foot plate that was hooked to a flash. And what I would
Okay.
do is I'd sit in one position, hit that button, and flash, and then I would move, and it would look like I'm talking to myself. I'd go, hey, and hit the flash, and I'd get a double. Or another neat trick is you'd have the aperture uh, set to wide open,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'd take a pen light and go like this and make
Yeah.
some lines in there and hit the flash, and then you'd get a picture of yourself with all this squiggly stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I remember all that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, or you and I are kind of dating ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
That's okay,
Hmm.
and it's amazing, where technology has brought us today. And,
Hmm.
one of the things that I really enjoy, I am just enjoying this drone community thing. So I'd say over the last 6 months, I have just met some unbelievable people,
Yeah.
and people now that I haven't maybe physically met them in face to face, but
Right.
I almost feel like, through YouTube and through their channels, I've got guys that I've met that I consider my friends today,
Right.
um, and
Hmm.
I'm going to meet some of them. I have met one,
Uh huh.
um, Dennis from Nacho Rolling. If you know
Okay.
Dennis,
Okay.
yeah, I met Dennis in Oregon back in. He was actually on a contract.
Right.
He's better get this correct. I'm trying to remember if he was a CT tech or um, oh gosh, I can't remember the job that he had, but he was out there for a 13-week contract. I
Hmm.
met him through YouTube. Just turns out he's still out there when I'm taking my trip to the Oregon and Washington coast. We
Right.
met up. We actually rode motorcycles together for a day out there. And then when he was coming home here about 3 weeks ago, he kind of broke down in
Oh.
Sturgis, South Dakota.
Oh,
So he
cool.
called me up and said, "Hey, Ron, bikes needs work, and I really can't go any further." So I went and picked him up and, you know, um, kind of put him up for the night. But I'll tell you, Art, I have just enjoyed this community, and one of the things that I've done, and I'm so thankful for some of the guys on there
Yep.
uh, that I have met that have just taught me a wealth of knowledge.
Yep.
Um, I would not be where I'm at today without them.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
um, and there's a number of them in the chat. There's Steve. There's Jim.
Yep.
Um, you know, gosh, and I feel bad. I hope I don't miss anybody. But
Uh,
and one of the things, person that I would like to kind of start out, if you don't mind me saying,
Go ahead.
Claude from
Yeah.
Drone Effect.
Uh huh.
When I first met Claude, um, again, he was, I'd learned things like, the OBS and
Right.
the live streaming. And then I've met, so many people through him, like Steve, um,
Right.
Jim from Above and Beyond Drones, and,
Right.
Mel Lloyd and all these guys. And like I said, everybody has such a wealth of knowledge, and I take little bits from everyone
Hmm.
and, bring it to me and try to learn. And I spend a lot of time watching videos, and I was on a live stream with a gal. I don't know if you know Val from.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Uh
Yeah,
huh.
there was a whole group of guys on there the other about a week or so ago. They're all talking FPV. So I
Right.
went on there. She invited me on, and I started to ask questions. Well, I got a thing rolling, and there was one guy on there. He just kind of went on a roll.
Right.
But that was the purpose to be on there, was to learn.
Right.
And I'll tell you, everybody's been so great, man.
Hmm.
I really, really, I'm very thankful, and I'm thankful for the people that I've met. I'm thankful for everything that I've learned. This is what I enjoy, and
Right.
obviously you as well. You know, but yeah, it's been great. So yeah, this has been great over the last couple of years, and
Oh,
I'm
great,
hoping it
good.
continues. You
Well,
know,
one of the things that I want to do, I've got my part 107, and I'm
uh-huh.
trying to break into real estate video. So I'm going to play this short video that I did about a month ago.
Okay,
And all right, here we go. And this is in Lakewood, Colorado. And this is with my Mavic Air, and I'm using an ND32 filter. And my friend Rick, he was kind enough to let me film his house to kind of get some practice uh, doing real estate videos. And kind of learning how to do the pull away shot so you get the whole, yeah, the whole building into the picture. Now, unfortunately, nobody can hear you talking, Ron, while I'm playing this video. Okay, now we're back.
okay. No, I just wanted to compliment you on your panning shots, and
Well, thank
yeah,
you.
beautiful, beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I did another one last week, not too far from my house. The problem is I used an ND8 on there, so the house looked washed out from the front, but it was early in the morning. I figured, well, maybe I don't need a real dark filter because it's still pretty early, but you know, it's still it still turned out okay. So I'm getting better, and the nice thing about it's right next to a lake, so I was able to, as I was doing the orbit, I could show the lake in the background.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, what I saw looked beautiful. If
Well,
you're just
thank you.
starting out, you're doing a pretty good job. I hope your realtor was, it's just, somebody I would be happy with that. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and that's where things are going, Art. I think, in photography today, even with realtors, and they're looking to. I mean, the first real estate job I ever did, was I worked with I guess they call them a stager.
Right.
They'll stage your home,
Right.
and they actually brought in like 20 people
Oh
into the
boy.
back of this house. They had a humongous deck, and they had
Wow.
a barbecue going. They had people. They had tiki torches on the back deck, and all I did was swing around on the back side of the house. I came right at eye level, but I
Uh,
swung around and
uh-huh.
arced around the deck with all those people sitting there having a barbecue, and the tiki
Oh,
torches going. And the
wonderful.
very first people that saw that video, done, they said, because that's what that couple enjoyed doing. They enjoyed entertaining,
Mm-hmm.
and they saw that house, they saw that big back deck, and that view, that the stager had helped me set up. And yeah, they were
Yeah.
done. It's like
And
that's
it
it.
sold
Oh,
the house right away. Yep.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Great.
That was,
Mhm. So, what kind of editing software do you use on your photographs and your drone videos?
well, I used two primarily. Started out with iMovie. That didn't work. It's okay. But I'll tell you what, Art. One of the this is a two-part answer to this question. One of
Right.
them is Final Cut Pro.
Right.
Very expensive program. There's many powers of that program that I don't know yet, and I'm still learning.
Right.
But with my lifestyle being that I'm on the go,
Right.
I am using a program with my iPad, a fairly new iPad Pro,
Right.
using a program called LumaFusion.
Mm-hmm.
Very popular. It's primarily just for iPads. And the key thing with that, and one of the problems that I have with Apple, which brings me to the next part of this answer, is not so much with LumaFusion, but with iPads, you could not bring video 4K above 30 frames a second into an iPad.
Wow.
It would not recognize it. It would recognize it, but it would default. It would fault, and it would not let you bring it in.
Huh.
I just got it in today, and I have not tested it yet.
Right.
Rick from Drone Valley
Right.
come out with a new product. Apparently, I guess his own company or whatever, but they developed this. It is and here it is. All the bigger it is, how well you can see it.
Right.
But it
Oh, yeah.
is a product that will allow you to bring any video, any photo into a phone or an iPad or a regular computer.
Yeah. I've
It
got
does not.
something similar. Unfortunately, it's green, so it looks kind of invisible. But what it does is and on the side, I could put an SD card in,
Yeah,
and I could plug this into my phone, and I could download video and photos from my phone, and I could either take the card out and put it into my computer, or I could use the USB port and plug it in that way, which
right.
is cool.
I was using a pigtail made by Apple, where you have the adapter, your regular,
Right.
adapter, and put your SD card into there,
Right.
and it would plug right into that. The pigtail would go into the um,
The
into
Apple.
the
Yeah.
iPad.
Right.
But I said I haven't tested Rick's thing yet. I just got it in a couple of hours ago.
Oh, cool.
From what I understand, it does not bring it into your photos library. It
Right.
brings it into your file library.
Right.
And one of the neat things I do like about LumaFusion is you can actually access your files, your videos from numerous sources.
Right.
From a wireless hard drive, from Dropbox, from your photos library.
Uh-huh.
Trying to think some of the other places. There's a couple other places that you can import it from. But I'll tell you what, it's actually one of the highest rated mobile video editing software out there. If you look it up,
Cool.
I'll tell you, it's by some of the pros out there. Quite frankly, probably the last 20 videos I put on my page have been done through LumaFusion, and it's
Wow.
$19. Final Cut Pro, that was $300.
Wow.
And but the problem with the iPad is you couldn't bring 60 frames a second.
No.
But I think with Rick's device, I'm going to be able to do that. So we will see. I'll learn in another. I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to test. I wish I would have tested it earlier to tell you about it.
Right.
But have you experienced that yourself, or do you do
No, I
everything?
haven't. I use Filmora, and
Okay.
that house video that I did, that's with an older version, Filmora 8, and I just upgraded last weekend to Filmora 9, and I'm starting to like that already because it uploads to YouTube much faster.
Was that a free upgrade, Art?
No, I went on eBay and I found somebody that had a cheaper. I could get it cheaper rather than buying the full price, and you have to use their code, and you can't
Oh,
upgrade to the 9.2, which is fine. I think Filmora 9 is plenty for what I do anyway right now. Hmm.
right. Okay.
So,
Uh,
you know that Ken has razzmatazz.
yeah.
Well, I have artmatazz, so it's
I did not know
time
that.
to relax and sit back and enjoy artmatazz. All right, that was so relaxing, and it was driving my internet up the wall because I noticed I was getting circles on the YouTube feed.
Oh,
Yeah, every time I run a video through vMix lately, it's been kind of acting up my output somewhat. But anyway, folks out there, you know I like chocolates. So if you want to send me some chocolates, unfortunately Ken doesn't want chocolates anymore. So send them to me. Or if you have a drone you don't want, or a broken drone, I like to fix those. You could send them to this address. Art Carlson, 5557 West 79th Avenue, Apartment 3, Arvada, Colorado, 80003. And did I say I like chocolates?
you mentioned it. Yeah.
So let's see. What one last question? What was your first computer?
Oh gosh. Uh,
Time to go in the
Pentium.
white bat machine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I went Pentium one.
Wow. Hmm.
Yeah, so it's dating me. Um,
Yeah, that would
yeah,
be in the early '90s, I think.
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. And then you had the dial-up modem, and
Yeah.
uh, yeah, that was. It's going back. Um, yeah, back in the early '90s, I think was the first computer I ever bought,
Right.
and I remember I primarily just bought it for gaming. Or a
Yeah.
couple
Don't
of
we all?
that you would actually. I remember you would call somebody else's modem,
Hmm.
and they could, appear on your screen, and then you would appear on theirs, and yeah.
Right. Hmm.
But
Yeah, and they had bulletin boards you could go through and
yeah,
exchange programs, pictures, and stuff like that. Hmm.
yeah.
Yep.
I've and here I am now sitting here with about a year old iMac. Right now, I've got about a 30-inch screen in my office here, and this is where all my work takes place. As far as working my videos and stuff.
Mm.
And I have the iPad Pro. I like to take it on the road a lot,
There
and
you go.
you know, I'm still learning art. I mean, like I said,
Yep.
my 80%, 90% of my background has been in still photography.
Right.
The video portion is somewhat similar, but there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's only been about 2 years of it now that I've been learning that,
Hmm.
and trying to learn frame rates, versus your shutter speed, and
Right.
what's
Hmm.
correct. learning about ND filters. And yeah, that I've learned all that over the last couple of years, and I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting
Yep.
as they go. Yeah, and like I said, if it weren't for everybody that I have met, especially over the last 6 months, I just
Right.
don't be in the spot where I'm at today. And I'm
Right.
thankful for everybody that I've met, and I enjoy their
Mm-hmm.
friendship, their knowledge. Yeah, it's been awesome, man. Really awesome. Yeah.
Well, I have a Dell Inspiron 580, and originally it was an i3. I upgraded to an i5, and
Uh-huh.
it came with a 1 terabyte hard drive, but I added a 256 SSD drive,
Hmm.
and that became my C drive.
Okay.
But when I upgraded to Windows 10, it filled up my 1 terabyte drive.
Are you kidding me? Holy cow.
So I've got two external drives hooked up via USB. I've got a 500 gigabyte hard drive and a 400 gigabyte hard drive that I pulled out of the garbage from a PC that someone threw away. And I just went through that and I go, wow, this is a 400 gig hard drive. And I'll see if that one works. And sure
Yeah.
enough, it does. And I bought an enclosure for it. And I've got a lot of room left on that one where my other drive is filled up a lot with a lot of photos and videos. That's my archive uh,
Uh-huh.
drive right there. And then I
Yeah.
have another PC behind me, behind the green screen, that's an AMD A10, which is I think comparable to an i5, and it's got a 400 a 4 terabyte hard drive, and it's got Linux on it.
Okay.
And eventually, that might become my main computer, and then I'll have to learn a whole new video editing software,
Hmm.
and then I've got to download a rendering software to go with the video editing software
Okay.
because I want to do some animations with the text and some still photos. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, Art, honestly, I've only been an Apple user for maybe a year and a half now,
right.
maybe a little. But I'll tell you what, going from PC to Apple, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I heard everybody telling me, hey, if you want to do graphics or video or art or whatever, you need to go to Apple. I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. But you know what? In a lot of ways, I feel they're right. I'm not saying that PC is not a good product to
Right.
use, but I'll tell you what, from ease of going from PC to Apple, there was a little, really not much of a learning curve.
Yeah,
Um,
I played
so,
around with Apple a little bit. It's not real
um,
hard to.
but I'll tell you what, now, even now, I can go onto my iPad. Um, and like I said, the program that I told you about, LumaFusion,
Mm-hmm.
um, and go on there, and I can put a video together if I have everything ready to go.
Right.
Import those. I could put a half decent video together in half an hour.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a really if you get a chance, Google it, watch a tutorial video on it. It
Will
does some
do.
neat stuff. It's only $19.
Wow,
That's the strangest thing. It's so powerful and does so many things. But yeah, $19. It's
and it's
unbelievable.
Luma Fusion.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's only for Mac. They don't have a PC
Correct.
version. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. For
Okay.
now, that I
Okay.
know of. But yeah, they just have just the Mac version, or actually, it's not for Mac, it's just for Apple, iPad, and I think it's for iPhone too.
Oh,
I think.
okay. Cool.
And I'll tell you what. One other thing I wanted to add to you, if you
Okay.
haven't checked this out, this is for Apple and or PC or iPhone or Android.
Right.
A little photo editing program called Snapseed. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, you have to download this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Snap Seed. It's through
Snapseed.
Google, free download. You would not believe the power of this little program. Holy
Cool.
smoke. It does some amazing, amazing stuff. I actually have one photograph on my iPad. It does it. If you've ever seen photographs where just a small portion is in color and the rest is in black and white,
Right.
I did that in that program. I said it's free. That's the neat thing about
Wow.
it.
And
Yeah, check it out.
it's called what?
Oh, Snap Seed, all one word. You can download it on your
Snap.
iPhone, on your Android phone, your iPad. I
Sna-
don't think it's for like PC or computer. I think it's just for mobile devices. Um,
right.
but it's a really cool program. It's amazing the power of it.
All
And
right. I'll check that out.
yeah,
Well, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been a real
oh
pleasure having you on.
yeah,
I
likewise,
will
sir.
see you on some of the other panels. So thank you,
Yeah,
and you have a great weekend. All right.
you too, Art. And thanks again for having me. I really enjoyed it.
All right. See you later. Bye
Okay, good
bye.
night now. Bye
All
bye.
right, everyone. Good night and enjoy the countdown.